Is there anything you can recommend to increase energy? Okay, good question. Anything you could recommend to increase energy? Fair question, but I would not be a good doctor if I didn't ask a question of a question, right? And the question to this question would be asking the question why. So why does a person, you got to find out why a person has a low energy. So yeah, if you want to increase energy, what does the world tell you to do? Well, you take an energy drink or you drink some caffeine or something like that. Well, that's not treating the real cause of the decreased energy. So you got to look at, okay, what's causing my decreased energy? So what could be causing decreased energy for anybody, whether you're a cancer patient or not? Well, the first thing that you think of is an anemia. So an anemia is when you have low red blood cell count or low hemoglobin or both. If that's the case, that's definitely going to decrease your oxygen carrying capacity of your red blood cells, and that's going to decrease the energy that you're getting to the brain. That's where you're really going to feel the decreased energy. So when a person says, I don't have any energy, they're not getting good oxygen carrying capacity to the brain. So treating the anemia, so treating the cause of the decreasing energy, in this case, anemia, is the most important thing. So if the person has anemia with cancer, do look at our blog post about treating anemia with cancer, but definitely you're going to look at about adding some iron. And if you're going to add some iron, think about adding some artemisinin as well. If you add iron, you should always add artemisinin and take them together. Because the problem with anemia with cancer is that cancer can gobble up iron. And if it's gonna gobble up iron, well, let's let artemisinin ride with it. So artemisinin binds to iron. So I have information on the blog post about that. Artemisinin binds to iron, and artemisinin can be a cancer killer. So we're giving the option, if the cancer is going to gobble up the iron, it's going to gobble up the artemisinin too, and we can actually kill the cancer via the artemisinin. So treating the anemia, treating the cause. Let's say I have anemia due to something else. Let's say I have anemia due to an infection, or let's say I have lack of energy due to an infection, a chronic infection. That's not an uncommon thing, a chronic infection. How would you know that? How would you know if your white blood cell count is above 7, maybe 7.5? That's in the normal range. If you look at a white blood cell test, you look at a CBC test, typically most labs are going to say normal white blood cell count is 4.5 to 10, 10.5, or maybe even 11. But really, if you have a white blood cell count over 7.5, you do have a hidden infection. That can be a cause of the decreased energy. You could have just inflammation. So chronic inflammation can be a cause of decreased energy. So that could be due to food sensitivities, food allergies. I've had people with hidden food allergies of gluten, and it causes inflammation in the brain, and it causes just a decrease energy, and they get really super sleepy and can't figure out why I need to be drinking coffee in the afternoon. I feel like I need to take a nap. What's wrong with me? It's because they're eating a food that they have sensitivities to. How would you find that out? Run a Cyrex panel. Typically a Cyrex array, array 10 gives you a test of 200 different foods cooked and raw. That would give you a good broad panel of, do I have food sensitivities that I need to look at? Remember, your cheek swab testing is not going to test for antibodies to food. So you might have, I might have taken you off of, let's say, dairy or pork or something like that. That doesn't mean you have a food sensitivity to those things. It means that's driving your cancer. You could have food sensitivities, that is, i.e., antibodies to different foods or peptides in different foods that can cause you all sorts of comorbidities. So you might have cancer and you might have a decreased energy totally caused from the cancer, but you could have cancer and you could have a comorbidity of decreased energy, and it's caused from a totally different condition, that isn't even tied to the cancer. Usually, if you have anemia with cancer, that's tied to the cancer. But you could have a chronic infection that's not tied to the cancer. You could have inflammation due to food sensitivities or food antibodies that's not tied to the cancer. You could have another totally different disorder, and most commonly would be an autoimmune disorder. So looking at that might be a thing. So looking if you have an autoimmune condition would be, and that would be, should be a contact call with me because we need to talk about that. But how you would test for that is you would do a Cyrex array 5 if you thought it was an autoantibodies to peripheral tissues, or a 7X if you thought it was antibodies to neural tissue. So that's Cyrex Labs is the best labs to look for antibodies. So we can include it. So no, there isn't, let's say it's none of these. And let's say, a common cause for a decrease, just a mild decrease energy can be an adrenal fatigue. You're getting just, just fatigue from all the weariness of treating your, what's going on with my computer? Treating your cancer and treating your, whatever. You just have some adrenal fatigue and some low energy from just a hormone suppression, common with people that are dealing with chronic disease of all kinds. And then you'd think of what would you do for that? You'd think of adaptogens. So adaptogens are different nutrients that can just help bring up the adrenals, can calm down a hyperadrenal state, can just kind of balance your hormones, and can really help you with anxiety and with stress issues. Chronic stress can certainly cause adrenal fatigue, and then you end up with a decreased energy. So obviously this is super common with anybody dealing with cancer or any other disease long term, and this can be addressed with just adaptogens. The beauty of adaptogenic herbs is that you can't take too many of them. You just can't, and it just helps bring balance. So if your adrenals are fatigued, it can help bring that up. But if your adrenals are in overdrive because you're just in a stress state, it can help bring that down. Hence, adapting you to the environment. That's where it got its name. So those are some things that you think of.